What's up, guys and gals of the internet, and all you other fine human beings watching? You are tuning in to CBL Productions, also known as Coyote Bricklungs Productions. Today, I'm bringing you a very special video, and it's very special for multiple reasons. To start, it's my first video, and I thank anyone for tuning in. Second, it's a first video in a long-running series I'm hoping to do. Third, it's a video about one of my favorite games ever, and it's the first horror game I ever played, drawing me into that genre of games. And to be honest, it also drew me into storytelling games and not just run and gun. Now, let me answer some questions before I really get into the main topic of this video. First off, who am I? Who is CBLP? I'm just a guy in my room with a mic and a computer that I just built, trying to just make some YouTube videos, trying to get people to watch my content. It's not really about fame or nothing. To be honest, I just talk to myself while I play video games, and people have told me that I have a good personality and I should do videos or streaming, so I thought, why not? I make music, why not try this too? Second question, what is this series? It's my first video and I'm already trying to set up a series that doesn't seem really smooth. Well, the whole point of this YouTube channel for me was to post my music, but then I was playing a game. I went back to this game, Alan Wake. Oh my gosh. I got this in I don't know, 2013. I was a young boy with an Xbox 360, and it was T-rated, I'm pretty sure, so my mom was fine with it. And boy, oh boy, 10 minutes into that game, and I was hooked. And I was just playing it the other day, and I thought, the remaster's coming out. You know, it's out now, but then I was thinking, the remaster's coming out. What if I make a video on Alan Wake? Then I started rattling my brain. What do I make a video about? Let's take a look back. And that just popped that idea in my brain. Take a look back. It's a working title. Title might be different, but maybe it's going to be taking a look back at blank, or a look back at blank. Just a retro game, or a game that just died off by now. And if it's a gem, I want to talk about it, whether if it's a gem for great reasons or a gem for other reasons. But yeah, I guess that's the only questions I think anyone would want answered. If one of the questions is, what is Alan Wake? That will be answered later on in the video. Yeah. So, what is this video about? What are we taking a look back at? What is this magnificent diamond in the rough that might not be a diamond in the rough? Alan Wake. Alan freaking Wake. This game is truly great, and I don't care what anyone else has to say to me. Sure, there might be a few problems here and there, probably fixed in the remaster, but everything bad gets tremendously outweighed by the good stuff in this game. And honestly, it is a game to talk about even to today. For a game 10 years old, I praise this game. Over 10 years old, I praise this game still. It is just such a magnificent game. Now, what is Alan Wake? Let's get into that. So my thoughts on the game, as I said before, is I absolutely adore Alan Wake. And I'm gonna say the title of this game a lot to get it through your guys' head. From the second I started playing, I was hooked. 10 minutes in, I was stuck in that game. From the storytelling to the atmosphere, graphics, for the time, 2000, I mean, That game coming out in 2010 and having the graphics it has before the remaster, in my opinion, amazing. I mean, the people had okay models, but the atmosphere was unmatched at that time. And almost everything in the game is super refined. But that almost, it's there, but it's not a lot. As I said before, there are some issues I find with the game. They might be personal, but all of the good stuff in this game easily just outweighs everything else. And that's why I find it to be super refined. It's not the most refined game I've ever played, but it's refined enough for 2010. That's one thing people need to remember and think about when playing these old games. These came out this game came out a decade ago. This game came out half of my life ago, pretty much. That is insane to think about. This is an old game, and it still to this day is phenomenal. Now, the things in my opinion that could have been fixed were mostly found in the combat. To be honest, some parts of combat get a little choppy, or I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but sometimes it can get a little unfair. I mean, 8 people on you at once, where you have a flashlight that runs out of battery very quickly, and they throw axes and run at you and kill you in like 4 punches or hits or whatever. Sometimes it gets unfair, but that's not a it's not a bug. It just means you gotta get good. That means I'm bad. I had to get good. I mean, it's all about strategy. As long as you have the strategy, you can beat it, in my opinion. But, as I said, some parts are choppy. That's all I'm gonna say. Because, to be honest, the combat is still fun. It's still awesome. The strategic light aspect to it, I'll explain for anyone who doesn't know. Actually, I'll wait till later. The light aspect of it, the flashlight and all that, that is a really cool aspect that I don't see in a lot of games, if any games. I mean, Alan Wake made their own little thing. Or, well, Remedy Entertainment made their own little thing for Alan Wake. To be honest, it is annoying when you find yourself dodging, but then getting smacked by a shadow bob with a fire axe in the middle of a dodge when you're like 5 feet away from him. See, that's the stuff where it kind of gets unfair. But as I said, definitely overlookable. As I said, the other aspects of the game totally just pull you in and give you a whole new gaming experience if you've never played it. You find yourself wanting to find the next page and just wanting to know what the end of the story is. Not to mention, this game being released in 2010 has an amazing story, has great voice acting. I mean, I just can't praise this game enough, I guess. And maybe it's a biased opinion, but it is my opinion. And, you know, when making games, there's going to be bugs, there's going to be choppy combat. It's not a... Yes, the game has a lot of combat, but the game is a storytelling game. You don't focus on the combat. You get through the combat to get to the next piece of story. Now, talking about story, what is Alan Wake about? Well, the masterpiece that is Alan Wake is just that. A complete and utter masterpiece. You take the role of Alan Wake, a best-selling horror author, kind of like the Stephen King of our universe. You and your wife take a writing-free vacation to Bright Falls, Washington, looking to get away from the big-time writing life, made very clear by old man Alan. But Alice, your wife, does not take that for an answer. She thinks that this getaway is the perfect inspiration and brings all of your writing stuff, even though you specifically and explicitly say that you do not want to write. And this kind of sends Alan for a little loop. But we'll get back to that. The story starts out on a road. Alan wakes up from a dream, ironically, and it seems to be a dream about a story he had been writing, a certain manuscript. A person covered in shadow chases him, and he needs to get to a lighthouse. Light is safety. And he runs and he runs, and there's destruction, and he makes it to the lighthouse, waking up, proving that it's a dream. He is actually on a ferry with his wife to Bright Falls, and they're just arriving. Now, Alan Wake meets someone on the ferry. Sorry, I totally blanked there, and I'm not going to cut that out because of how many times I've done this take. So Alan Wake meets someone on the ferry with him, and we're not going to talk about this guy. He comes in later. But we meet this man who is a host of a radio show, and he knows Alan Wake, and he specifically tells Alan Wake that he wants him on a show, but Wake totally declines it, saying that this is his getaway. He doesn't want anyone knowing he's there. This is his little time to be alone in this small mountainous town, forest town with barely any people in it. And so the man recognizes that Wake doesn't want that and accepts it. And he goes on his way. Into town, they have to pick up a key from Stucky. I don't know why the name was Stucky, but Stucky, and it's the key to their cabin on Cauldron Lake. It's a little island cabin, a little retreat. And they show up. Alan Wake goes into the diner. I guess Stucky works there. Shows up, goes to get the keys, and ironically, big Alan Wake poster in the doorway of the diner, and the waitress of the diner actually instantly recognizes him, telling people about him, and he gets wildly embarrassed. But Wake just wants to get the keys and get out, so he assumes he doesn't see Stucky around, and the waitress mentions he might be in the bathroom, so Wake goes to the bathroom. It's locked, so he starts knocking on it, asking for Stucky, and the little old witch from Snow White shows up and tells him that Stucky is gone, and she's very terrifying. Wake is not at all affected by it. He's like, okay, old lady. She says she has the keys. He does not question it, takes the keys. He just wants to get out of that little diner. He is tired of being recognized. He also meets this creepy lady talking about how dangerous the dark is and how he is not smart for going into the dark. And he kind of assumes she's a druggie. But off of that, Wake escapes the diner and they make their way to the lake, Cauldron Lake, to get to their retreat home. Once there, they realize that the power is out. And this is where we learn that Wake's wife is actually, for some reason, deathly afraid of the dark. And when the lights go out, she thinks she will shrivel up and die. And she freaks out and blames everything on you and, just takes all her fear out on you. And that is demonstrated in the first bit of being here. You need to turn the lights on. You get the lights on. Things are going okay. You turn on a generator, get the lights on. Things are going good. And then that's when Alice breaks out the writing stuff. Now, Alan gets very angry. He kind of goes off on her and retreats. Runs out. He's leaving when all of a sudden the lights in the house turn off. And as I said, Alice freaks out, blaming Alan, screaming for help. But I guess it was rightful because Alice is gone. But she's not. And the cabin is, Alan decides to go trekking through the woods. Now, I want to say I'm going to skip certain parts due to not spoiling certain plot points. Because I know the game's been out 10 years and y'all gotta catch up, but the remaster came out, so I want to give some people a chance. So, during your little quest through the woods, you learn about these shadow people, the same shadow people you see in your dream. Now, I don't know how else to describe it. They're just people covered in shadows. You get a flashlight, and you learn that shining the flashlight on them, this is actually learned during the tutorial, but shining the flashlight on the shadow people for a certain duration of time breaks the shadow, allowing you to shoot them. If you shoot them without breaking the shadow, it's wasted bullets. Now you can also get flares and flare guns, which instantly break the shadow. And then there's also lamp posts, which heal you like almost instantly, and they cannot go near unless the lamppost breaks. Now, during his quest, he encounters a lot of these shadow beings, taken, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what they're called. But he makes it to a gas station, freaking out, thinking that he's killed people and his wife is kidnapped. So he calls the police, I think. They come. He has a gun. He's talking crazy. They take him into the station to question him. He was saying he was shooting people. So they take him in to question him. That's when the best character shows up. After being questioned for a little bit, your manager and best friend, Barry shows up. Now, Barry might not be a handsome man, but Barry is a very charming man. Let me tell you. Barry gets you out of the situation. You get to leave, and you explain everything to Barry. Barry thinks you're crazy. Now, this leads to I forgot to mention this. I'm going to double back. The police tell him that there is nothing on Cauldron Lake. There is no cabin. He is crazy. And that's why he goes to Barry to tell him. And he's telling Barry that Alice has been kidnapped. Police don't believe him because he's talking crazy. How can they believe him? Now, they're threatening to arrest him for murdering people because he said he killed people. He killed Stucky. He killed a lot of people. Now, this is when Barry saves Alan. He gets Alan. They leave. As I said, Alan describes everything to Barry. Barry is like, oh my gosh, Alan is cuckoo. After a good bit more of shadow questing, though, it turns out that Barry gets trapped in a cabin where a bunch of birds are attacking him, and he actually kind of starts believing Alan after thinking Alan is crazy. And this is when Barry finally decides, okay, we need to get Alice back. Even though Barry doesn't really like Alice. Good friend. Charming man. So, before we continue, I want to bring up, during all of this, Alan finds manuscript pages. These are the pages I was talking about before. He realizes that these pages are telling a story, telling the story. Everything in these pages seems to be true. And that is when he gets a call from Alice's kidnapper. See, Alice's kidnapper was that shady mofo on the boat that I was talking about earlier. Now, he knows about the manuscript, and he tells Wake, I need the manuscript, or else Alice is gonna die. I need the full manuscript. So that becomes Wake's new mission. We need to finish the manuscript. Now, Wake doesn't go around the forest searching for pages. He decides he needs to write the story, finish the story. So he returns to Cauldron Lake, to the cabin on the lake, where everyone was telling him doesn't exist. Now, I don't want to go much further into the story details because it's just so good and I really want you guys to experience it for yourself. So the rest of the story of Alan Wake is exactly how you'd expect. But if you don't expect how it would end, well, play the game, because that's kind of my point. I'm not going to spoil anymore. Go play the game right now. Buy it, download it, play it now. It's awesome. I can't vouch for the remaster, but I can vouch for the original Alan Wake. Go buy it now. No matter what you're on. Do it. It's awesome. Now, after seeing the success that it did, Alan Wake was followed up with a sequel, Alan Wake American Nightmare, developed by Remedy Entertainment and still released by Microsoft Studios. It was not as AAA as its previous entry. Now, it was released on February 22nd, 2012, 2 years after the original, and it would be available for PC later that year, actually, on May 22nd. In America. It would eventually make its way worldwide throughout the coming months. I won't go much into detail as story of this game, but it could, because it spoils a lot of the other game. Now, I'll just say it follows the villain Mr. Scratch and Alan Wake trying to shut down his doppelganger. Actually, Mr. Scratch ends up being a doppelganger of Alan Wake, controlling the Taken, and they're in a spot called Night Springs, a little town called Night Springs, which is a written town by Alan Wake. Now, I actually want to get into Night Springs in a second when I show a few cool details, but it was similar to the first game, but it was different enough, it wasn't a run and gun, but it was more focused on the action than the story. But the story was still pretty good. Now, this game did not see the same fame and success. I know Alan Wake had success, but it was not as big as it should have been. American Nightmare probably got the praise that it deserved. It was not no Alan Wake. I will say that. Now, this is a topic for another video, so I'm actually going to move off of that. So, Remedy Entertainment might actually sound familiar to some of you. They were the ones who also created games like Quantum Break for Xbox and PC, and Control. And those are actually all in the same universe. Control features Alan Wake, and there are a few hints to the Alan Wake story, and you can see his name a couple of times in Quantum Break, but really the story of Alan Wake itself is a very, very big factor of Control, and that's another reason I like it. It's part of what people call the Remedy universe, which, hey, might open up to more games, and if it's Alan Wake related, I am ready. Another cool little tidbit about Alan Wake is there's this, you find TVs. Sometimes the TVs kind of show that you, Alan Wake, as you're playing, are in his head, and the TV shows what's actually going on with Alan. He's writing the manuscript, and then he gets the calls, and it's a lot. I have theories, people have theories, it's a lot. I'm gonna hold back. Now, there's also on some TVs you find Night Springs. Now that is, as I said before, the town of American Nightmare where you go, but in Night Springs is kind of like a Twilight Zone ripoff where, you just kind of have to see it's just Twilight Zone called Night Springs inside of Alan Wake. That's the best way I can describe it. But it really, if you listen to them, it really opens up a possibility of what is going on in the game. At certain points, it might be pointing out a certain, message of that chapter. I don't know. Those are really interesting, and if you do play and you see those, listen to them. Sit them out and listen to them. Now, bringing Night Springs up, that is also, I could be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure that show is mentioned in Quantum Break. But off of that, one thing, another little tidbit that I actually really enjoyed and made Alan Wake feel more like an experience than a game. I know that is kind of corny to say, but it felt more like an experience is it broke the chapters into episodes or acts. And I just thought that was really just smart because this is around or before this, it's kind of the same time when all of the Telltale games came out and they kind of did their stuff in the episode 1, episode 2. And I think Alan Wake, they didn't release it in chapters. I think they did really cool and they kind of started that with that episode thing. I could be wrong. I I I don't know. But I just thought that was a really cool feature and it made the game feel a lot less like a game in a good way. And to be honest, that kind of wraps up all I have to say about Alan Wake. I know this was kind of a short video, but it was my first video. I didn't want to break down the game fully. I just wanted to do a quick look back. And that's what most of the videos in this series will be. It's not going to be a breakdown of the game or a full story of the game, but simply just a look back. Now, if you enjoyed this video, thank you, firsthand. And second, feel free to show your support. If you don't want to, that's awesome. You don't need to like the video. I'm not going to be like the people screaming subscribe, click that button. I don't care. I just want you guys to have enjoyed the video and maybe learned something new about this game. And if you did, awesome. If you did, go play the game. If you want to play a really good game, if you want to sit down for, an hour every night and get drawn in, play this game. And yeah, that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. I don't know how long it's going to take, to be honest. Kind of took me a while to do this video, but I loved making it. I had a really great time. Look out for a new video if you liked this one. And if you enjoyed my content, I do stream. My username on Twitch is Billy the Whip. I will have it linked somewhere. If you liked the music, you can find it on SoundCloud. I will have that linked somewhere. There will be 2 pages. One is actually for rap music that I make, and one is for the beats that I make. So feel free to listen to that. Feel free to show your support. Feel free to enjoy this video as many times as you want. And feel free to go play Alan Wake. As I said before, thank you guys and gals, and all the other fine human beings watching. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, whatever time it is. And I hope you have a great week. Deuces.